मुर्द खुदा में रज़वी हो।
Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah and His beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, we were blessed with attaining and reaping the blessings of Shab-e Baraat a few nights back. And once Shab-e Baraat comes and goes, then we know that the month of Ramadan is almost upon us. The moment the eve of Baraat comes to an end, or the moment it arrives, we know that it is not now long for the month of Ramadan to arrive. And as servants of Almighty Allah, we must continuously strive to attain the pleasure of Almighty Allah and His beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For this is the ultimate goal, this is the ultimate objective, and this is the ultimate purpose of a believer. The believer's ultimate purpose is to please his Creator, to please his beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when a banda pleases Allah and his beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then the banda reaches a rank that he cannot even understand. However, our lives in this current day and age are unfortunately plagued by the stresses of this dunya. Look at our lives today, look at how we live. Sometimes we have everything but we are still troubled. People have millions and billions but they are still troubled. And at times you see a man that sleeps on the street and is most comfortable. Sukoon and comfort of the heart is not by earning the dunya, but it is by earning closeness in the court of your Rabb. Sometimes you see the fuqara, the true fuqara, live very simple and humble lives, but they are content with whatever Allah Ta'ala has given them. And with us getting everything sometimes, we are still not at peace. We are facing the stresses of the dunya and life, and attaining the worldly entities becomes our primary purpose. Attaining the dunya becomes our primary purpose and the goal of many people, rather than the purpose and the goal being what? Closeness in the court of Allah, pleasing Almighty Allah. And you know, when the dunya, the great Sufyan Ikram have said that when the dunya and the entities of the dunya become your objective in life, it becomes the purpose, the wrong and the false purpose of your existence, because the real purpose of existence is for the ibadat of Allah. It is to please Allah. But when the entities of the dunya and the dunya become a person's objective and purpose and goal in life, then the great mystics have said this leads to spiritual decay. It leads to spiritual decay and the loss of spiritual appetite. Yani, a person does not even, if he read his farz, after that he's not thinking that I should try and read my sunnah also, or my nawafil also. He thinks I did the farz, I did my responsibility, let me run as fast as possible. Why is that so? Because there's a lack for spiritual appetite. There's a lack for spiritual appetite. If he had the zest for spiritual appetite and the desire to become closer in the court of Allah, then the banda will not just stop at fara'id, and he will understand that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a servant becomes close to his Rabb through his nawafil, through his actions that are not obligatory upon him, that are not compulsory upon him. With that he attains the special closeness to Almighty Allah. But when there is spiritual decay and the loss of spiritual appetite and the appetite to gain virtue and to become a good person starts to lack in a person, then he forgets why he's living. He forgets why he's here. He thinks, what do we think? Look at our own lives today. We think we're living here so that we can pay the bills at the end of the month. Let's be honest about it. We're here because we have to do this and we have to do that and pay this and buy that and make sure that this is done and that is done. But we are forgetting that this is all secondary. Primary is to please your Rabb. How is it that they were those awliya, they were those pious servants of Allah that did not have any financial means, but they survived comfortably? The ocean of wealth flowed beneath their feet. Why? Because they made their primary objective primary. And that was to please their Rabb. Because if your Rabb is pleased with you, you will get everything. Because Allah is the giver. Allah is the giver. Okay? So, Almighty Allah has commanded us, it's a lengthy discussion, I'm being brief today. Almighty Allah has commanded us, and every Friday, almost every Friday, I read the same ayat, and there's a reason for that. Almighty Allah has commanded us in the Holy Quran to remain close to the pious servants. He has commanded us to stay close to the truthful servants, the righteous servants, here and in the hereafter. Here and in the hereafter. Now, this is why Allah says, وَكُونُوا مَعَ. That's why He says, وَكُونُوا. In other words, keep the company of the pious servants consistently, continuously. Remain in their company. Remain in their company. And this company is about the dunya and the akhirat. Now the question is, okay, if I go and spend some time with the pious people in the dunya, or I stay in the company of the righteous, how will I end up? How can I adopt their company in the akhirat? What choice do I have? Do I have a certain choice there? That I can adopt this or adopt that? Very simple. The great scholars have stated, and they ask, how will you attain the company in the hereafter? Allah says, remain with the pious, remain with the righteous, remain with the truthful. So the question is, how will I get, here I can try. How will I get it in the hereafter? How will I get the company? So the great scholars have stated that if you analyze this verse of the Quran, وَكُونُوا, this part of this, وَكُونُوا, especially the word kunu, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ, and you think carefully and you analyze the said verse of the Quran, it becomes clear that the one who keeps the company of the truthful servants, the pious servants, the righteous servants of Allah here, even though he himself may not be pious, but because he kept their company here, Allah will raise him there in the company of the pious servants. If you keep the company of sinful people in the dunya, then on the day of Qiyamah, your Rabb is going to rise, our Rabb is going to rise us amongst them. He's going to raise us amongst them. So, what you do here impacts your hereafter. That is why the Quran is saying, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. In other words, remain in the company of the pious. It's not only talking about the dunya, it's talking about the hereafter. That if you want to remain in the company, then you must keep the company here. You must be at the feet of the truthful here. You must keep their company, and if you keep their company, these pious servants, Allah will allow you to rise on that day with them, and Allah will bless you with having to receive their intercession as well. When Rasul Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam opens the doors of intercession, nobody can open the doors of the intercession before Rasul Pak. Rasul Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is that personality who will be the first to open the doors of intercession. He's Shafa Yawmun Nushur. Okay? When he opens the doors of intercession, then everybody else will be allowed to intercede based on their rank and their excellence in the court of Almighty Allah. Now, to better explain and understand this, a very great alim deen, a very great mystic, Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abu Hassan Ata. Hazrat the Shaykh Abu Hassan Ata, a very great Sufi, a very great mystic. You know what he said? And Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Abdul Rahman Jami radiallahu anh quotes this. Okay? He says something very beautifully. Do you know what he says? He says, if you cannot reach Almighty Allah, you are striving, but you cannot reach that level where you are in the court of your Rabb. You cannot reach that manzil of haqiqat and ma'rifat. He says, if you cannot reach Almighty Allah, then reach His beloved friends. Very, very beautiful statement. He says, if a servant cannot reach Almighty Allah, then reach Allah's beloved friends, for even if you are unable to attain their rank, they will intercede for you on the day of Qiyamah. Why? Because you reached them, you came to their court, you remained in their company, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ, and because of that, they regarded you as one of them and they interceded for you in the hereafter. So the first stage of success is to reach the feet of the pious servants of Allah. Is to reach the court of those who will take you into the court of Allah and His beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. That is why Ala Hazrat Azimul Barakat Imam Ahl Sunnat radiallahu anhu told us that without a medium, without a means, a servant cannot reach the court of Almighty Allah. He needs a medium, he needs a means. And that is why he says, Wasle Maula chahate ho to wasila dhund lo. Wasle Maula chahate ho to wasila dhund lo, be wasile najdiyo hargiz khuda milta nahi. He said, if you desire to attain closeness to the Almighty, then seek out a means, a medium. If you decide to attain closeness to the Almighty, then seek out a medium, a mediator. He said, oh Najdis, without a medium or a mediator, closeness to the Almighty you will never find. It is not a possibility. Now, these beloved servants of Almighty Allah, you must understand that the pious servants of Allah who are here to guide us by the command of Allah, these beloved servants of Allah are pure of heart. And the heart in a person's life plays a very important point. The pious servants of Allah are pure of heart, and their hearts manifest the true messages of guidance and salvation to us. Their hearts manifest that. Sometimes you see that people sat in the company of great mashayikh, neither said a word, but their hearts changed. Neither said a word, but their hearts changed. What is the reason for that? Because the sight of a believer is such. The sight of a mu'min, the sight of Allah's pious servant is such that he is able to transform a dark heart into light. He is able to transform the life of an ordinary person into the life of a pious man. But to get this, you have to go into their company. You have to seek them out. Because their hearts are so pure that Almighty Allah's tajalli, which is found in their hearts. The tajalli, the rays of the light of Allah, which is found in their heart, allows them to see and act in ways that ordinary people can't. They are able to see things which you and I can't see. They are able to do things which you and I can't do. Why? Because of the pure state of their heart and the tajalli of Allah that is in their heart. And the only time you realize is when the reality of their words come in front of you. Then you realize. And a beautiful example of this, and as I said, time is limited. I'm going to just give you one example, and then we're going to end today. A beautiful example of the condition of the heart of the pious, and how their hearts have been nurtured, that through the tajalli of Allah, the tajalliyat ilahi which is in their hearts, they are able to see, they are able to do, they are able to understand more than you and I can do. Is a beautiful example of a personality that has been explained by Sayyidina Shaykh Abu Abdullah Khafif radiallahu anhu. Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abu Abdullah Khafif radiallahu anhu, he says that once Shaykh Abul Hasan was sitting with his murids in Shiraz, Persia in those days. Hazrat Sayyidina Shaykh Abul Hasan was sitting with his murids, with his disciples where? In Shiraz. And it is stated that Abu Abdullah Khafif, who is narrating this, he says at that time I was not present amongst the murids. I was on a journey. I was traveling. And then obviously it was related to him later on. He says, I was traveling. I was not present and I was not expected to come back anytime soon because I had gone on a very long journey. He said, so I was on a journey. Shaykh Abul Hasan was sitting with the rest of the murids in Shiraz while I was traveling. He says, it was said that when the food was brought for everybody to have their meal, then Shaykh Abul Hasan radiallahu anhu said to the people that set aside some food for Abu Abdullah. Set aside a portion for Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah was traveling, Abu Abdullah Khafif was traveling. He was gone on a very long journey. He said, set aside a portion of food for him. So those that were present, obviously, they said, Huzur, why must we set aside a share for him? He has gone on a long journey. There's no expectation of him coming back anytime soon. So he insisted. He said, be sure to set aside a portion for him. Be sure to set aside a portion for him. May sound very simple, but read between the lines. He said, be sure to set aside a portion for him. He's gone on a lengthy journey. Hazrat Sayyidina Abu Abdullah says that I was told that my share was set aside. I was told this afterwards. And it happened such that my journey diverted me to some other place. And I ended up returning at the time when the meal had just completed. Yet I wasn't even supposed to come back. But I changed my intention and I went to another place and I came back to Shiraz. He said, when I came back, I entered and I made salam. First to Sheikh Abul Hassan, I made salam to him and to all those that were present. He said, when Sheikh Abul Hassan saw me, he took his chadar, his mantle, and he put it around his arm and he started to swirl in spiritual ecstasy. He put it on his arm and he started to swirl in a state of spiritual ecstasy. And he said, Qulubul mu'min la takzib. Qulubul mu'minin la takzib. The hearts of the believers never lie. The heart of the believer never lies. Now he said the heart of a believer, a true believer, never lies, because his heart had already manifested that Sayyidi Abu Abdullah will come back at this time. Although he did not know like that, he was gone on a journey. But the heart, because of the tajalliyat of Allah that are in the heart manifested the message that he will come back, and he said, keep a portion for him. That is why he said that the hearts of the believers never lie. Now if you want to know who is a true believer, then you have to look at what Junaid Baghdadi said. Junaid Baghdadi said a true and a perfect believer is one whose feet are on the earth and his eyes on Loh Mahfuz. His feet on the earth but his eyes on the protected tablet. He's aware by the command of Allah of what was happening. Now Hazrat Sayyidi Abu Abdullah says that after that, I personally, when I got there, I said, I'm very hungry, can you give me something to eat? And then the people brought out the food that he had said, keep for me. Now it sounds very simple and a very basic discussion. But if you look at the depth of it, what does it have to do? And there are other narrations that I wish to explain, but time won't permit. What was the aim behind it? What brought this personality to that level that he was able to foresee this and have the insight of this? Why did he say that the hearts of the believers never lie? The hearts of the believers, the perfect believers never lie. Why did he say this? Because the heart is the chamber of the tajalli of Allah. The heart is the private chamber of the tajalli of Allah. That when the tajalli of Allah Almighty enters the heart and adorns the heart and brightens the heart, then that heart allows the one to whom it belongs to see that what ordinary hearts cannot see and cannot understand. So the idea that we discussed from the beginning of my discussion today was the importance of striving to attain the pleasure of Allah and to attain the pleasure of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the heart becomes the receptacle of the tajalliyat ilahi when the banda strives for the pleasure of Allah Almighty. When the banda strives to be close to his Rabb. And the holy month of Ramadan is now around the corner. That is the month of spiritual training for all of us. But before Ramadan comes, it is important for us to prepare the heart. It is important to prepare the heart so that the mercy of Allah and the noor and the blessings that are descending in the month of Ramadan, the heart becomes prepared to take that in. Otherwise, remember that it rains on mountains, it rains on dry land, it rains on land that is very healthy. You will find that mountain, whatever falls upon it, all goes down, no benefit. But if it rains upon a basin, it takes in all the water. So we need to leave our hearts in a state where the heart can accept, where the heart can welcome that which is descending from the court of Allah in the holy month of Ramadan and in any other time. So Allah give us the tawfiq to understand. Allah bless us with realizing, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us firm in His love and the love of His beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah keep us with